to start?
Sure. I'm Marika Roque. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer at Kerv Interactive. We're a video AI-based company, and we've been in partnership with Paramount for a couple of years now globally. I'm really pumped to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And Erika?
Hi, I'm Erika Crowell. I am part of Paramount Brand Studio. I manage a lot of our third-party advertising partnerships, so working very closely with Kerv to onboard them and bring them into our advertising campaigns.
And as Dan said, I'm Ed Fogarty. I'm a Senior Vice President, Agency Head, and I handle Omnicom Media Group and Horizon Media as well. So we had a very interesting call the other day. AI is everywhere. I think yesterday the question was asked how many people use ChatGPT, how many people actually pay for ChatGPT. I use it all the time. This too, from ChatGPT. But one of the things we were talking about is a chicken and an egg situation, which is, and Marika, I'll start with you. You mentioned in the call that chicken and egg situation in the context of AI adoption. Like, can you elaborate on the concept and explain how Kerv acts as the connective tissue between brands and publishers to evolve it?
Of course. So from an AI perspective, and I'm gonna poke at you guys a little bit, but the publisher side needs agency investment. So we've been around for a while. If y'all heard me talk yesterday, we've been dealing in AI and video for about 10 years, and we had to start on the agency and brand side so that the publisher side had the investment to move forward and innovate. So the chicken and egg is just to quantify that for all of you is, for example, yesterday I mentioned what we've done with NBC and Walmart. We had to go to Walmart for years and get them leaning in and on board in terms of how Kerv's tech could add value to them, while also on the other side, also partnering with the NBCs of the world, the Paramounts of the world to say, hey, let's innovate together, and Kerv has to act as that connective tissue between the two. The chicken and the egg scenario is the publishers need the investment to innovate. The brands are pushing, you are all pushing for that innovation. And what I've seen I'm a bit of a neutral party here, but a lot of times when negotiating upfronts and whatnot, the publishers are being pushed a bit to put innovation in almost like an added value bucket. So we need to kind of come together a bit as an industry and figure out how we can innovate as the KPI versus putting innovation as this added value bucket. And I'm a partner to you both, but that's kind of the tricky part is how do we make innovation an investment? How do we make it not just an investment in efficiency, but an investment in the future?
Right. And with that, when it comes to Paramount Brand Studio, that's one of the things that you're looking at right now, Erika, is investing in the future when it comes to content.
Absolutely. And I think when we're evaluating partners and new technology, we're looking at a lot of different qualifiers. It is going to be demand in the marketplace. It's also how can we scale this across all of our platforms? We don't want to limit to a specific brand or platform on our side. We're also looking at the impact to the consumer experience. Does this enhance our advertising opportunities? And ultimately, how are we going to leverage it to drive revenue, which I think goes back to how do we incorporate it into our larger investment and strategy with our agency and brand partners?
Well, and just to make that super clear, since there are brand marketers in the room, if you're thinking about things like shoppable content, shoppable moments, just to talk to what Erika's talking about, if we're going to truly scale that, which is what you all want, it's all your call to action, we have to integrate with the publisher's content across all your publishers' mix. We then have to make sure that the user experience is set across all of the hardware as well as in the apps. There's quite a bit that has to be done. So I think we really need to come together so that you all are very clear on what the publisher has to invest to actually make your future vision a thing. And that's why yesterday I kept saying crawl, walk, run, because I do think we can quantify a framework to get there. But in order for us to make that shoppable vision a reality, we have to make so many things work together. And that's, again, let's be really transparent about what that looks like and quantify what the investment is. Because if we don't do that, then it's going to keep being pushed on, and perhaps the consumer experience might not be what it could be.
Right. Yeah.
Well, and then also from the sales angle, it's like we have walls that we're trying to climb over as well, where it's like, And we saw when we brought advanced audiences years ago with Vantage 10 years ago, and it was a walk, walk, walk. Now we've gotten our pace and we're moving it forward. Now we're bringing, say, Kerv to say Omnicom, where you have a great relationship with like Kelly Metz, but it's them then getting their clients on board, so that way it all makes sense together.
One, just to, we love them. Chrissy is a friend, and we really pile on to. So we get Chrissy in a room. Going back to the very first question, that's the OMD CEO, and she transparently tells us. So Kerv has created these trusted partnerships where these agency leaders feel comfortable saying these are our goals, and what OMD is really focused on, we know, is moments. So like, hey, how do we quantify these moments? So then Kerv partners with Paramount and others to say, hey, how do we scale this idea of moments? With Kelly, how do we scale quantifying the data to actually make sure that you know that this works? So we sit in that middle role, but we know you guys have to make money. They need to drive efficiency. Most of the companies we're talking about are publicly traded companies. So it's tricky because you've got that bottom line to manage. But we're trying to innovate. We're trying to take the ideas across all the brand, the agency leaders, and scale them so that they can be packaged for you guys. They have to drive revenue.
Absolutely.
They have to.
They have to. And what's great is another thing for us just to bring to the marketplace to complement the content that we're making. So,
Exactly.
And by the way, your presentation, while I know it was very fast yesterday, was really
stressed about that.
fantastic.
Thank you.
I would like to have seen a Yellowstone example in there.
There was one in the sizzle.
Oh, well.
Wrangler.
Wrangler.
Yeah, we connected Wrangler.
I popped in a few minutes late.
Okay, visual
but no, that's
recognition
good.
there.
Perfect, thank you. But the technology is really fascinating,
Yep.
especially down to like even the talent level of it all.
Exactly.
So if you haven't seen it, is there a place where, because I know there are people in Paramount that would love to see that eventually.
100%. Well, email enterprise@curve.ai, and then Brad is around. But we're at curve.ai if y'all want to reach out to us. But I mean, in that vein, with the talent, that's another thing to kind of mention when it comes to AI scaling interoperability. Don't forget that these guys on the pub side also have to deal with the legal side. So we have to manage these obstacles with you all on the brand side saying, these are the brand safe moments, these are the obstacles that I need to avoid. And then on the publisher side, they have legalities. Like, these talent can't be associated to these types of brands. This talent over here already has a shoe deal. So when you're correlating to her, you can't correlate to shoes. So that's another way we're kind of the connective tissue. And in the more transparency we can get around your actual obstacles, Kerv actually kind of goes in to create a path to solving those in that way as well.
And luckily, Paramount Brand Studio usually are one step ahead when it comes to that.
100%.
Because we're always trying to align brands and content, and we do always have to watch out for those.
Yeah.
So,
Good job of that.
yeah. Okay, so skipping ahead, because I think we got into a lot of that. Can you provide specific examples of how Kerv's AI technology is applied to advertisers and contextual sentiment analysis?
Yes, many. I want to start with you guys, though. I mentioned Survivor with Paramount yesterday, and Survivor is actually a really interesting one. So we processed Survivor with our moment identification call to action, and the first advertiser that you guys came to us with was Uber Eats, and you guys said, "Hey, process these episodes of Survivor." They gave us about a 2-hour window to process and gain approval. All you brands know that's tight. But we were processing and recommending moments for Uber Eats. Same episode, about 2 days later, processed the same episode for a shoppable moment against the Paramount shop. The reason I mention that is that the sentiment was really needed in terms of the context of when you would want to say, hey, you want, it's kind of mean, but hey, are you hungry? You want to, if anyone knows Survivor, these are the right moments for that, versus to recommend, hey, these are the moments where the contestants are doing something really wonderful, and to recommend a shoppable moment there. So you've got the sentiment, you've got the recognition of who's on the screen, what moments to avoid. So we really honed in with you guys and a few others what we're calling the moment match engine. And we're able to kind of optimize sentiment versus product match versus brands, and all of that matters to the moment. And in the same episode, you can actually optimize that. just to quantify that a bit with what we did with you guys, just to high level try to show y'all the user experience. You can follow up and we'll send it to you. But we were actually automating a call to action in the content to the consumer to actually pause in these moments. We only did 1 moment per episode, and it was optimized between these brands because we wanted to really optimize the user experience. But when the call to action came up, it was pause to engage. If you don't want to engage, don't pause. We had a super high pause rate, and of the pauses, over 10% of those who were in that moment navigated with their remote and went further into what the call to action was, whether it was scan to get your Uber Eats and actually place that order, or scan into the actual product level for the product correlation.
That's really fascinating.
Yeah.
The same for Paramount Brand Studio, because I know Survivor is a big thing for you as well.
Yeah, and I think we did that in a specific market. So it was a really good testing opportunity for us to see how our audience reacted and engaged with it. And so we think about the chicken and the egg scenario. For us internally, it's also about how can we prove this out and then scale it to more content and more platforms. So it was a really great opportunity for us to prove the value and that our audience did want to engage and shop our programming.
100%. Another example is what we did with NBCU and Must Shop TV. Of course, I wanted to start with Paramount, but with NBCU and Must Shop TV, we worked with Walmart to actually drive a major change in the way that their sponsorship worked. So we were actually correlating into their actual brand feeds directly. So we're agnostic from where we sit. We're not tied in with a certain merchant. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But we're actually, Walmart's feed is about $1 billion. It's $1 billion plus when you factor in their third party. And we're using those products to recommend the most shoppable moments against rules within Below Deck Mediterranean. And Josh Feldman, their CMO, has been impressed, indicating that it drove engagement rates up to 300% gains to what they were used to. But one of the big calls to action we have as a follow-up to both Paramount and an NBC on top of that is you brands, y'all don't want these proofs of concept and test to learns to be it. How do we create the framework so that consumers can get used to these experiences? So it's kind of tricky where we sit, and I almost might ask you guys what you all think on this. I'm stuck between, I don't know where to look. But how are y'all navigating between you brands need KPIs to be met, you need sales, you need purchase intent lift, that sort of thing? Well, we need consumer adoption as well. So we need scalability across platforms. We need more of these experiences across episodes. And that to me is a chicken and egg that I would love to hear y'all's thoughts on, because we can't really get to driving prime conversion until there actually is more adoption across the consumer base. So we're kind of stuck in the middle because we can't live in a proof of concept and actually give you guys what you need.
Yeah, well, I think we're getting to that point where consumers expect it now. Yeah. They want to be able to shop. I mean, as a viewer and a fan of many of these programs, I'm always wondering, what shirt is she wearing? How can I get those sunglasses? So I think we're getting to the point, and then the boom of social media and impulse buying, and that expectation now is that you can see something, be inspired by it, and then purchase it. So I think for us, it's a lot about educating our viewers that they can shop our content, and then creating that experience that's very seamless for them to do that.
Love it.
On the Survivor example, just curious, I'm a Survivor super fan, by the way. Okay. But for the shoppable part of it, like when it went to Paramount Store, was that to get the buff? To get things like that
yes.
People can then go right
yes,
into
like exact elements that they were wearing or consistent elements that y'all were selling. Yes,
right.
We were matching, and we were actually hooked in with your Paramount Shop product feed. Mm-hmm. So it's all AI and API based. So anything that sells out, we're updating on the front end user experience so that they were never seeing something that was out of stock or anything like that. So super fans loved it. Yep. And that's, I think, one of the biggest elements that it kind of values up. It values up y'all's content because it shows that the superfan wants to buy. They want that moment, and we make it just easier for them to get there, you know?
And what's interesting is you said about adoption. So when we had our upfront dinners, John Halley announced the partnership with Kerv. Mm-hmm. So now we're in the game. But then it goes on the ownership of the agency to make sure their clients are understanding it.
100%.
Us selling it through to them, plus selling it through to clients. So how does Kerv facilitate like the collaboration between brands and publishers and agency? Like where's your role in all of this?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Kerv has an agency and brand team. So we have a large team that is out with the agencies and educating, making sure they're clear on what we can do today and what tomorrow looks like. Then we also have an innovation and enterprise team. So the connective tissue kind of sits between that pendulum swing between the two, but we actually have teams that we invest in to educate and make sure to foster the relationships between both. So I mentioned Brad. Brad is focused on the enterprise side. His call to action is to make sure you all know exactly what Kerv is doing. We have another sales leader who is responsible for making sure that all brands and agencies know what Kerv's capabilities are, and to foster those innovation sessions, which we want to be having with brands and agencies as often as you'll give us the time. So it's kind of on the brand and agency side, it's two different conversations. It's what's available now, and let's innovate together to hear what you want. And we actually listen and take that in and then bring it back to you guys to actually figure out what are we able to come back with these framework calls to action from them. So we're actually really kind of trying to serve you to then to put your plan back to the agency, because their investment is going to come through you.
Right, exactly.
So we're just the tech partner behind you.
And then Erika with Paramount Brand Studio.
Yeah, and I think having sort of those three legs makes it really powerful to have those brainstorming sessions, because you've got the Paramount team that knows the content and the audience. We can bring Kerv in as the expert and then have the brand or agency really talk about their goals. How are they going to measure success, so that we can all three come together and create a really cohesive marketing plan.
And with the marketing plan, because I've seen a few of them being created as of late, there's always a Kerv layer on it. So we're trying to figure out, okay, what's the Kerv layer here? What's the Kerv layer there? For some brands, it just might not make sense, but for others, like really lean in.
Yeah, and we realized that we couldn't scale to that point without having all of those legs that you're mentioning. So there was no way I could ask you to invest in integrating Kerv to process your content for innovation without having these brands leaning in, without having the demand. So we had to do that. So for the AI and tech companies out there, you can't ask something of the publisher side without providing some sort of investment or path to roadmap. And we realized that because we knew how much we were asking of you guys to really invest in that user experience, because you own it. We're empowering it. So we're trying to hold ourselves accountable and responsible to not be looked at as a cost, but to be looked at as an investment and powering new revenue opportunities.
So this is off here. So just curious, there are two things. One, Cannes coming up, so I'm sure that's super important for you.
Yep.
But the speed of AI so was it 2 CESs ago was when basically ChatGPT came and everyone was like, oh, do an Eminem song in my voice, like do the lyrics, and people were doing all this fun stuff. But to get to the point where we're doing AI for brand marketers, Kerv is coming in, you're analyzing shows, ripping faces, doing this, doing that. Like, despite the fact that AI has been around for a long time, like every time you go in an email, it tells you, oh, you want to add the and go and here to it, and you do it. But it just seems like there are a lot of people that are getting like nervous about it, because a few weeks ago was lucky enough to go to INSEAD in France for a week management, and AI came up. And what was really funny was that all the Europeans have fully adopted the use of AI, and the 4 Americans that were there from Paramount, they had all varying opinions, and one of which was, oh, it's known as cheating. AI is cheating. ChatGPT is cheating. So the question I ask is, it's not cheating, but how do we get people past that mindset that AI is cheating?
Of course, you need that curveball, but
It's to both of you. And the reason is because it came up yesterday when I was in conversation as well.
Yeah.
So I know for Kerv it's not, but just in the world where people are kind of like, oh, I don't know if I want to dip into that, because if they don't start learning to use it, none of this is going to make sense to them.
it's true. I mean, one quick thing, and then I want to chat with you on it, Erika. But we need to stop talking about AI, in my opinion, as just one thing. So the use of AI for what? So yesterday, I think I said, like, let's get more specific a few times. That's why. So from an efficiency perspective, we've built our own models. I think yesterday somebody said, like, don't build your own models. I agree with them if you don't have them yet. But right now, we couldn't actually build and curate our models without AI. It's not cheating, it's our livelihood
Exactly.
to keep up. I mentioned Walmart's product feed. I did that on purpose because when I say a billion, I mean it with a B. There's literally no human way to correlate that many products, fingerprint them, keep it up to date without AI. So from our perspective, it's doing something that would be impossible in order to cater to on the brand side as well as the publisher side to create the best user experience. There's no way to do that without AI. So it's not cheating, it's actually giving you all what you need.
Yep.
So it's just when we say it's cheating, in what way? But to your point, if you're talking about it writing emails for you and that sort of thing, if people are not utilizing it, they'll be left behind.
That's exactly.
They'll be left behind.
And Shelley said it yesterday, which was, if you're not about taking AI is going to take jobs, it's not AI is going to take jobs. It's people that don't know AI and keep up with it. They're not going to be the ones that are looked at, because really it's not necessarily about writing an email. It's about using it to help with your time management as
100%.
well.
Just a quick personal aside, and this is why I'm such a nerd. My dad is a software engineer, and he's very good at it. He actually tells me, we talk like once a week on kind of his perspective on AI. He's teaching AI how to do his job so that he can actually think. This is a genius kind of guy. He wants to have more time to think. He doesn't want to teach the AI to cheat. He's trying to teach the AI to do what he does so that when random people are calling him to fix X, Y, or Z in the code, he can be like, hey, AI, do this. And then he's thinking more about the framework, the infrastructure, that sort of thing. So talking a little bit higher level from a developer, true person in it, he's doing that, but not to cheat.
Exactly.
To get ahead.
Yeah.
Erika, I literally.
No, I totally agree. I think we're not thinking about using AI to improve our creative. We're looking at it more from a performance standpoint and a capability, and to enhance our existing offering. We have so much content across Paramount, and there would be no way for us to identify all those moments that brands want to align with in an automated, scalable way without AI. So it makes us work better together and provide more unique opportunities.
Well, and can you imagine if I came to you and you didn't have AI and I was like, hey, Erika, I'm going to give you even more signals. So you have your video that you already are working on. I'm going to break it up by scene and then give you hundreds of objects per scene. Without AI,
Right.
Erika would be like, go away.
Right.
Like, I can't
I mean,
deal
I
with
wouldn't mind watching like the Jersey Shore all day for my job to identify those points. But yes, I think this is how we can scale our targeting and our contextual moments.
Well, and that brings up a really good point. We work with another content owner who has the person who had been identifying the moments manually on our calls. And when Kerv is identifying the moments and replacing what they're doing, they're not concerned.
Right.
This person's name is Lexus, and she's like, oh, this is amazing. I have time freed up to do these other things. So she wasn't looking at Kerv as automating this element of moment selection. She was like, great, now I can think strategically on how to package it up for the revenue team, how to continue to think about how to curate a better user experience. We weren't replacing her job. We were giving her time to do it.
Right. And it was actually probably finding moments that they might have missed if you're doing it manually. Because I remember 10 years ago, there were a few companies out there that were doing like, oh, you can replace this product with this product. And they would come in and they would give you an Excel sheet. It was like, replace this billboard, this and this. And it's like, well, what about this over here? So, and the reason I brought it up was to kind of, especially if there are younger people in the room that might not, like, it's okay to embrace it. No matter what level you're embracing it on, to the level of Kerv or to the level of writing an email or ChatGPT or taking meeting notes, putting them in there and saying, summarize them for me and make sense. It's just getting people accustomed to using it.
100%. And every moment doesn't look the same for all. So if you have a human being looking at a moment, that there's no way they could optimize the Uber Eats to Paramount Shop example without having to almost like analyze it again.
Right.
So yesterday I mentioned a few moments as well where there were some people drinking wine. That particular moment had a positive sentiment. There's no way to actually almost like optimize and make the future of this almost programmatic and biddable. Because again, I can't tell the future, but getting there and partnering with Erika on how do we get there. I would like to automate, of course, the moments, kind of give you a prioritization of the different categories of said moments. And then Erika can kind of package up for sales, like how to actually make that more scalable. And in the future, imagine if this shirt was sold at, I don't know where I bought it, but let's say it's sold at Nordstrom and Macy's. Nordstrom and Macy's can actually bid against the shoppable element because we're able to empower something like that. Inside of a leaned in pause or what have you. Like there's no scalability without AI. What I just mentioned, a human literally couldn't do that.
Exactly.
And a human being actually has to think of the strategy, and we got to give them the time to do that too.
For sure.
No one has enough time.
Nobody
Right?
does. So I know you can't tell the future,
Yep.
but I'm going to ask both of you a future vision. So looking ahead, what future trends do you foresee in the integration of AI into brand marketing? And then how is Kerv preparing to stay ahead of these trends?
You start.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, it's a lot of helping to us analyze our content, find those moments. I think the contextual targeting, that adjacency for a brand is going to be really important as we head into the future and we have data impacts. I think that contextual relevancy will be really important to enhance your brand messaging. So that's where we'll lean in more. And then just really finding those shoppable moments and aligning brands and partners with them.
I mean, I agree. I mean, the goal of Kerv, we actually named one of our first APIs the Pause API because everybody has that moment that you're talking about where you're watching some sort of show and you want to buy the thing and you can't buy the thing. That's nutty. Let's solve that problem. So we want to be able to work with Erika and Paramount to process all content so that in the future you could actually pause at any moment and pop that product into the cart. We need AI to analyze consumer behavior, correlate that with the content data so that we can actually see, are people going to truly shop the content on your CTV devices in the same way you're shopping social? Because in theory, the attention quality and the attention difference is very different. We need AI to analyze all of those things. But in the case that you're analyzing all content so that you can pause at any moment for sports, we'll talk about that separately.
I was going to ask.
Yeah, but if you can actually do that, we have a lot of work to do infrastructurally. We have a lot of work to do with the brands to make sure that we're actually connecting the catalogs in the right way, that we're setting up infrastructures across the board. Some of that is really, really exciting. Some of that is building some plumbing so that we have a scalable future. I think, I don't know if this is, I think it's okay to say, but that's the innovation bucket in one way. I'm very clear that innovation is also in an efficiency bucket as well. So driving innovation through automating things like ad approvals. I know, doesn't sound that sexy. Right now there are teams that get called on the weekends because inappropriate ads are flowing through infrastructures and ecosystems. You probably all have been part of those calls. Why the heck is that still happening? So we should be correcting things like that with the same technology that's building these really cool vision futures. I mean, just think about it. I'm processing content for all this really cool, badass shoppable moments. I can tell you if it's brand safe with the same exact processing. So we can kind of do this pendulum of both there. So you've got innovation for the future. How do we make things, how do we solve problems for consumers in that way? And how do we solve problems on the infrastructural and publisher side at the same time?
Yeah, and then I think you also can then layer on, once we find those moments with AI, we can then personalize that experience as we get more information about what that consumer is doing and how they're engaging. And I think that is then like that next level that we'll get to.
Amazing that you said that. So imagine that you like logged into your Paramount Plus or you log into your system and you could actually choose certain things. So Paramount in the future will be kind of organizing this. So I like Nordstrom. I have a Nordstrom card. So I log in and they know that. So now my correlation when I'm watching shows is Nordstrom. Or think about decisions like that in the future, which are going to amplify the value to Paramount and customize certain things like that. I think once we actually build the foundation in these plumbings, we can actually start to allow the consumer to have more choice. And that's when you're going to start to see more purchase. What kind of drives me insane right now is in these proofs of concept, if they're not driving thousands of percentages of increase in sales, duh, we need to build this first and then optimize that sort of thing. So I cannot wait until we get there.
Perfect. Well, you hit right on the dot.
Oh my gosh.
So I didn't even realize the clock was there. And like,
I didn't either.
So thank you, Marika. Thank you, Erika. This was a
Thank
great
you.
chat.
Both.
And see you in Cannes.
Thank you for having me. See you in Cannes.